Hey, gun people. I'll talk about an AR jamming issues on an AR. I had this friend of mine said this gun was jamming. So this is basically an AR. I've talked about it before. Most of you are going to know. I'm going to go over the jamming issue of what happens when a round doesn't eject. Now, when I carry my gun, I keep a mag in it, but I've always got the bolt forward and it on fire. A lot of people will carry their gun on safe. Mine's always on fire. I want to know that the hammer's dropped. There's no way this gun can fire. So in order to fire this gun, I need to chamber around with the mag in it, and now I'm ready to shoot. The gun's on fire. I don't have to take it off safe. I just have to do this. So when I'm carrying a gun in a car or on one of my pieces of equipment, or when I'm driving around and I have a gun, for an AR, I don't keep one in the chamber unless I'm actively going out and I know I'm going to be shooting. But normally the way I carry it, just so I can grab it, rack around and go. But this gun was having a problem, and I've got a casing here to show you. And what it was doing is I was getting a jam to where the casing was just not loading, and it was sticking out. Actually, it was in there. Let me drop this round in here. It's going to be hard to do because I don't want it to load. So it was stopping about right there, and I don't know if you can see that or not. And what this gun was doing is when you fired about every third, fourth round, it just wouldn't. It was feeding properly, but it wouldn't go all the way in. And there we go. The extractor wasn't coming. So I'm going to show you what it looks like, and then I'm going to show you what I did to this gun in order to fix this. So here's your bolt, here's the round. I don't know if I can, I've got a magnifying glass here if I can do this. So what's happening is when this bolt's in the gun and this round is here, this little shiny part here that you can see, I don't know if you can see it or not. Let me see if this magnifying glass works. Is that making it clearer or better? Hell, I can't tell from this little screen here. I was hoping to be able to get a zoom in on here to show you. It doesn't make it that much better. So we won't use a magnifying glass. So what happens is you see this little pin right down here at the bottom? That's called the ejector, because that ejects the round out. It's spring tension. If you press down on that little thing there, that ejector, you're going to see it go in and out. And there's a spring behind there. So what this round was doing, what it should do is it should pop into this bolt and go underneath the extractor. And if you notice, if I try to hold this round in here, if I let it go, it bends. Because the ejector, that spring, is pushing it, and as the bolt comes back and it pushes it, it makes it fly out. So there's two key parts here on this bolt that can be a problem for that little jam. One is the extractor, which actually grabs the lip right here and extracts the bullet out, or the ejector, which is this little thing right here that I wish I could get a zoom in on, but let me see if the camera will zoom, if it give me a better clear. Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, okay. Let's do that. This shiny part right here is your extractor. That hooks on the lip of the bullet. And your ejector is this little pin right there that goes in and out. My fat finger's in the way. Hell, you still can't see it. Let me see if I can do it with a pin here. Most people are going to know, and I know if you're like, all right, I know what an ejector is. So that little pin right there goes in and out and that pushes the round out. Now if you notice on this little piece right here, you see how there's like a little rim around the edge? Instead of being flat, there's actually a little bevel right around the edge there. That's basically what I did to this little extractor. I pulled that pin out. There's videos out there on how to pull it out. It's kind of a pain. Brownell wants to sell you a $70 extractor thing to get that out. What I end up doing is cutting a piece of brass. So this is an old shell. Let me zoom back out here. So this is an old shell, so what I did is I just cut off the back part of it, like so. I just cut that part off, and then when I put this in my bolt, I take my bolt out, I put this in the bolt, and then when I put it in a vise, it pushes the extractor or the ejector in, and then I'm able to take the pin out. So that's one way to do it. Some people, if you have two people, one person can hold it in to relieve the tension, and then you can pull the pin out. But this gun was consistently jamming on, so I'm going to try to get one more view of this shiny part here, extractor. What I did is I took a polishing wheel and just polished that really well, because I wanted the bullet, when it loaded, to pop in there nice and easy to make sure I didn't have an extractor problem. Then on the ejector, I beveled just around, not enough to move it. I don't know if you can really see it or not. I'll try to even get a better zoom. I don't know how. That's a little too close. It won't do it. If I turn this sideways, you're going to see a little bit of a bevel around that ring there. And basically I pulled that out and put that little bevel right around it so it's not straight and sharp edges. And those are the two main things I did. I'll show you a couple other things I did. When you do multiple things to fix a problem, you can't say for sure which one really fixed it or what was the problem. So what I should have done is I should have done one, went and shot it, and then if it's still jammed, did another one, went and shot it. If it's still jammed, did another one. But I said, you know what, I want to fix the problem. So everything that I thought that was causing this round not to get into the bolt and seat properly, it had to be either the ejector or the extractor. So I took my little Dremel wheel, and all I did is I put a little metal polish, fliz, mothers, whatever you want to use, and I took this extractor off and I just buffed that extractor and made it nice and smooth and polished. So now the round goes in there easy, and I know it's clamping really well. Also, when you take this bolt out, there where the extractor is, when you clean underneath the extractor, and there's videos on there on how to take the bolt apart. I'm not going to pull the pin out and do it. There's supposed to be a little plastic donut ring around your extractor spring. So when you pull your extractor off, after you polish that and get it nice and smooth so the bullet will go in there, I had to go get a donut because mine didn't have it, and I put the little plastic donut around a spring, and that just makes your extractor a little stiffer so it grabs better, and you get a good. You notice when I was putting a gun in here, I had to rack this a full rack, otherwise it wasn't seated on here, because that spring has to let this bullet snap in there. And when it's in the barrel and the bolt slams forward, you want it to clamp on there nice and good. Well, polishing it makes it stands in there smooth, so it's not hitting any sharp edges. And your ejector with that little bevel just around the edge, for some reason, don't ask me why, that fixed that. The donut and polishing that fixed the problem, and now this thing feeds like a bandit. I tried to jam it. I put different rounds. I used cheap aluminum Russian crap. I used good stuff. I used green tip. I mixed this magazine up, and I went out there and as fast as I could pull the trigger. My neighbor probably thought I had an automatic gun out here because I was shooting so fast. But I'm telling you, that fixed the problem. So if you have, it wasn't a feeding problem because the round was feeding. It was just sticking out and it wasn't going into the bolt fully. So I was like, okay, it has to be either it's not sliding around the extractor and hooking. If the extractor was just too loose, this should have went in there easy, and I would have had the round wouldn't have been coming out. the round was flying out fine. The problem was it wasn't seating all the way in. It was stopping here and it wouldn't load the round because it wasn't squared on the bolt. So, and then the other thing that I did is, just in case there was an issue and I wanted to make sure that it was filing good, and I'll try to do another close-up here, is I took a, let me grab a flashlight here. There, that's better. So you see what I did, hell, holding this flashlight and doing this is a pain in the butt. So what I did right here is, I noticed there was a couple of rough edges right here where the bolt was coming in there. So I took my little polishing wheel, and all I did is I felt in there, and any rough edges, I took a 1000 grit sandpaper, I smoothed off any rough edges. I put that polishing wheel with that little Dremel, and I just polished it just a little bit to where now there's no reason for a bullet not to slide in there and go straight. I didn't want any friction or anything stopping that bullet. So by just taking off any rough edges, I feel my finger in here now, everything feels nice and smooth and polished, it's not rough. And now the bolt goes in there nice and easy, the rounds go in nice and easy, there's nothing to mess with it, and it fixed the problem. So I don't know, maybe other people have found other ways to do this. That's what I did. It worked. It was jamming consistently. So put this thing back together real quick. Do a quick function check. Hold the trigger back, listen for that trigger reset. I should hear a click. That's your reset. Squeeze again. And that's my function check. So that's what I did to stop the squeeze that trigger. No, there's not a round in there. Now I stick my full magazine in. The gun's on fire, nothing in the chamber. The gun can't be fired until I rack a round. So I know when I pull out one of my guns, that one of my ARs that need to be racked, I know I need to rack a round before I can engage the target. That would be the same as carrying your pistol empty and having to rack a round in. I don't like doing that with a pistol. And somebody's going to say, well, why do you do it with an AR? I just don't want, when I leave a gun in my car, my ARs that are loaded for a long time, the only tension I want is on the magazine. I don't want a bullet in there putting tension on my extractor spring or my ejector spring, my extractor spring, and all the other stuff waiting just for me to put the gun on fire to shoot. Because jacking around or clicking into safe is pretty much the same thing. I mean, it's not like I'm carrying my gun around and I'm engaging active targets. This is how I keep my guns. If they're hung on a wall, stuck in the closet, stuck under the seat of the car, stuck on the golf cart if I'm riding around the property, these are how I keep my guns. I know if I pick it up, I got to jack around. So hopefully that will give you an idea on how to fix that extractor, ejector, or a round not feeding properly in there. So which one fixed it? I don't know. The things I didn't change anything. And again, when I do polishing, when you have these wheels, this is just a foam wheel. I use it on low, and this will heat up. I can rub my finger on it. It's not going to hurt my finger. So I'm just taking off rough edges, or I have a little piece of 1000 grit sandpaper that I use a lot on guns for a lot of little things, and it just takes off rough edges without removing a whole lot of material. It's not going to change your tolerances unless you sit there and do this for 5 minutes, because it takes off so much, but it really smooths down anything that's a little gritty or rough. A little 1000 piece of sandpaper, you rub it on there, wipe it, you'll tell a big difference. That's how I fix the problem. So I hope that helps on if you got a round not fully loading from your magazines, or you're getting jams. That's one of the many jams. Remember, when you get jams, it's normally magazine. That's the first thing you want to check. Is the magazine seated properly? Is your spring, is the magazine broken? Is it a magazine malfunction? Because if your magazine working, then and you're getting jams, it's something else is causing a problem, and you need to troubleshoot it. So hope that helps. We'll end that there. Buddy, Miss T, you're good boys.